The era of strategic patience is over. With regard to North Korea, all options are on the table, and the United States will continue to bring the full range of American power, economic and diplomatic, until North Korea abandons its nuclear and ballistic missile programs.
Vice President Mike Pence saying all options are on the table with North Korea. He is in Chile today. Let's go to former Central Command commander during the Iraq War, Admiral William Fallon, on where things go from here. Admiral, it's good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Maria, busy afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. Your reaction to Mike Pence's comments on North Korea, and now this idea that it feels like Kim Jong-un is backing down on those plans to hit Guam.
I think what we're seeing is a continuation of what's been going on for many, many years with North Korea, whether it's Kim or his father, his grandfather. We see all kinds of statements up and down all over the place. He's very mercurial. However, there are some common threads here, and one is that I think it's good in a way that the nations of the world have come together with this latest round of sanctions to apply, hopefully, universal pressure on North Korea to convince them that the rest of the world is watching and is not appreciating their behavior. On the other hand, I think we need to be a little bit careful about isolating them too much. I think the last thing you want to do is have them feel they're in a corner of a box with no way out. And I think the answer to that we've seen this week from Secretary of State Tillerson, that indicated that we stand ready to talk to these folks to negotiate a way ahead. And a reality is that's going to have to happen sooner or later. Remember, this situation in Korea is the result of an armistice from a war that was stopped in 1953. There's never been a formal end to that war, and I think one of the challenges is that the North Koreans feel that the word that I hear most frequently from them is hostile. They say we, the U.S., are very hostile towards them. Well, there's still a state of war that's only been ended by an armistice. So at some point in time, I think we need to figure out a way to sit down and work out a way ahead. It's in not only our interest and theirs, but all of the world's. This area, this is a business channel, and the business of what goes on in Northeast Asia is critical to this country. Take Japan and China and South Korea, and all the economic activity between those countries and ourselves is really important. And to have an unstable regime in the north that is continuing bellicose behavior, and I think primarily because they feel that the U.S. Really is trying to eliminate them, that we're going to force regime change, and that's the biggest concern. And I suspect that's a critical motivation for them to try to come up with a nuclear weapon as a deterrent. All this is very complex, but at the end of the day, I think we need to be careful. Take his backing down, if you would, statement as a good omen, and then to be working quietly behind the scenes to try to get something moving between these two countries.
What about Japan and China? Let's talk about the neighborhood for a minute, because the U.S. has been counting on China to help rein in North Korea and its nuclear ambitions. And then Japan, the U.S. and Japan conducted air drills today as North Korea watches. Japanese jets conducted air maneuvers with U.S. bombers southwest of the Korean Peninsula. North Korea obviously had considered firing missiles toward the U.S. Can Japan and China be doing more than they are right now?
Well, the Japanese, they're different, very different relationships. We have a long-standing alliance with Japan. They've been treaty allies since the end of World War II, and we are basically the guarantors of security for that country. China, on the other hand, is now become certainly our biggest economic partner, and with their long border with North Korea, very sensitive to what goes on in there. So I think the idea that we just push to China and say, you guys fix this, is nonsense. That's not going to happen. We need to be engaged. But the Chinese can be very helpful.
Real quick before you go, what's the Iran connection? A lot of people have said to me, look, North Korea did not create these nuclear missiles and increase its nuclear stockpile alone. How does Iran fit into this?
Actually, I think Iran's been a beneficiary of North Korean technology, particularly in missiles. I think the nuclear programs probably got a little bit of impetus, but if you go back and remember that the North Korean nuclear program was really plutonium based, and the Iranian is uranium centrifuge based. So there are two different ways to get nuclear weapons, and they had chosen the other. The North Korea is doing both. But I think the challenge is that both either have or have the potential to have nuclear weapons, and that's destabilizing. And so we've got to work to stop that.
Admiral, good to have you on the program today. Thanks so much.
Sure.